our 32nd Gears and Gadgets program. 32 times, like having a mini wedding, you know. But we don't do a seating chart, obviously. So I am the founder of the Minnesota Manufacturing Executive, Gears and Gadgets, and I really appreciate all of you taking the time out of your busy day to be with us here. This is the final program of our 2019 season. It's been very successful. So thank all of you who have attended our programs. I see a lot of familiar faces. And then some of you are new, and welcome. If you're a manufacturing executive or manufacturing business owner, you are definitely in the right place. You know, a lot of people don't know about Gears and Gadgets, and I'll just give you a little brief history. In 2012, when I was recruiting, I don't recruit anymore, I'm a recovering recruiter, I do job search coaching, but that was during the recession, and there were so many manufacturing executives out of work, maybe some of you were. So I took that time to help executives during their job search, and I would ask people, you know, what are you doing for networking? And I would get this deer in the headlights, like, networking? You know, I was supposed to be networking? Like, yes, that's how you find it in the job market. But I realized that there was really no place for manufacturing executives to go out and meet one another. So I'm an entrepreneur, just like many of you, and I like to create businesses to fill a void, to identify market needs and fill that void. So in 2012, I created Gears and Gadgets with the sole purpose of creating a networking place where people in the manufacturing industry can come out and create synergies that help our manufacturing community grow and prosper. As I've been talking with you during the networking portion prior, and then we'll have networking afterwards, I'm hearing that a lot of you now are doing business with one another, which is wonderful, finding job opportunities, and just really creating a great network for yourself. So thank you all so much for your support. I really appreciate that. You know, there is one person in the room that has been with us as an attendee from almost the very beginning. Tad Kowalczyk. Tad, where are you? Is he right in the back? Thank you so much. There's 2 Gears and Gadgets, right? So thank you for your loyalty. We really appreciate that. Yep. And obviously, I really want to thank our generous Gears and Gadgets sponsor team. Our sponsor team has been personally vetted by me. They have the Good Housekeeping Hockenberg seal of approval for their integrity, expertise, and credentials to provide great service to you, our manufacturing industry. At this point, I would like to thank some of our sponsors. Platinum Bank, represented by Pete Odell. Pete, I know, just raise your hand. Great, thank you. And make sure you come and say hello to our sponsors at the conclusion of our meeting. Success Computer Consulting, Craig Jacques, thank you. And Belius Marketing, Adam Johnston, thank you. And by the way, Adam's the creator of these wonderful guidepost magazines for you to take home. He does a great job, and so if you're looking for some creative genius, Adam's the person to contact. Carlson Partners, represented by Connor. Yes, right, thank you. And Tim's coming soon, I think, right? For the team?
Yeah.
Wonderful, good. Gallagher Insurance, Mick Hansen, thank you. Rock Island Wealth Management, Mitch Dolba. Hi, Mitch, thank you. And then I can put a plug in for me, I suppose. I'm Marty Hockenberg, Hockenberg Search, providing executive career coaching for executives in job transition. And at this time, I would like to welcome one of our sponsors, Clint Seehusen, principal at DSNB CPAs and Business Advisors, to come up to the podium for your sponsor spotlight. So you can introduce yourself and share how DSNB helps manufacturing companies. Come on up.
Thank you. Hey everybody, I'm Clint Seehusen with DSNB, and we are CPAs that believe in being connected, proactive, and accessible. Connected to you and your industry, proactive by bringing you new ideas like the tax law changes, accessible by being available to you when you need us. One way we do this is we set up client service teams, so you have multiple people that are available when you need us. This team gets together internally to brainstorm on proactive ideas to share with you. At this team, your team been meeting this past week. One of the things they might have been discussing was the FASB just updated their rules for having to capitalize your leases this coming year. They extended that a year, so you get a year for free for having to do that this coming year. Then this team likes to come out and meet with the clients, share those ideas with them, and to hear from our clients clients because we like to stay connected in what's going on in your world. An example of a client service meeting we had in the past year or so, Mitch Stoba's a partner of mine. We were out meeting with the client, and maybe this applies to some of you as well. This particular client had no money set aside in his own name and had all of his wealth tied up into his company. And he was looking to get some of that moved out and diversified and put into his own name. Mitch was able to help set up a cash balance plan for this client, and they were able to set aside him and his spouse over $400,000 a year. So they're well on their way to meeting their goal of putting them over $1 million out of the company and getting it set aside. So as you're doing tax planning this year, and maybe you're considering paying the tax man, if that's something that interests you, or maybe you're looking to buy some more assets that are depreciable and saving tax that way, or maybe a cash balance plan might be something that works for you as a way to diversify and get some money out of that company. Be happy to talk to you, Mitch or I, afterwards at happy hour. Again, Quincy Husen with DSB, CPAs that believe in being connected, proactive, and accessible.
We have a very exciting and very timely panel discussion for you today entitled Vision 2020, Panel Discussion on Planning for Success. So now we're nearing the end of 2019, and it's a great time for manufacturing business owners and your team to start thinking about what you want to accomplish in 2020. Now, many companies begin the annual planning process by deciding on which of the primary annual initiatives that can best drive your growth. So whether you have those initiatives identified or not, our panel discussion can help you understand how the Entrepreneurial Operating System, EOS, identifies upcoming opportunities and risks that you need to be aware of. So we are very grateful for the following panelists and EOS users for providing their expertise. Thank you very much, Mary Nutting, owner and president of Core Talent. And thank you so much for coming here, Shane Stephenson, COO and GM of Custom Brands Lubrication Technologies. And thank you, Deb Steigoff. Did I get your last name right?
You got it right.
Good. Director of Operations at Core Products International. And thank you to Tony Wand, CEO of HM Craig. And Peter Beaumont, our panel moderator, will provide a little bit more of an in-depth introduction. And at this point, I am delighted to introduce our expert and very entertaining panel moderator, Peter Beaumont, business advisor at The Resultants, another great sponsor. He's a certified value builder, coach, and EOS implementer. Peter has worked with Fortune 500 companies such as Coca-Cola, Philip Morris, McDonald's, Intel, and Wrigley across 5 continents and over 60 countries. You probably have racked up quite a few of those frequent flyer miles, right? His primary roles include general management, strategic marketing, and client services, and he has cited his diverse experiences as the #1 reason he and his clients are able to quickly adapt to changing cultures, economies, and obstacles. And in 2018, Peter joined The Resultants, a great sponsor, and they are a leading Twin Cities business advisory firm. And as a business advisor, Peter advocates for the best interest of your business, including a process that has proven time and time again to help companies like yours build value and achieve personal and professional success. Thank you very much, Peter. Come on up to the podium to launch our panel discussion.
I've got the fan club with me, thank you. I'm a bit worried about this entertainer bit, but we'll see what we can do. I'm so pleased you guys are here. I'm not on my own. So let me just, if I may just set the scene before we get into talking with the panel. The most common reasons that we see companies failing to reach annual performance goals, they usually fall into 3 categories. One is that the plan wasn't right. The CEO or the owner sets the goals really without consulting with anyone else, and they failed to incorporate market forces, or maybe operational goals were set rather than strategic goals. The second reason is the plan was kept secret. Anybody worked under those circumstances? We've got a vision, but we're just not going to tell you what it is. So there's no shared vision. If the annual goals aren't shared widely across the company and cascaded so that everybody's working towards the same target, then it's difficult to actually achieve them. The third one is that the team couldn't execute. And so if teams or individuals are already overwhelmed with daily tasks, they aren't given the right tools to succeed, then they won't have time or the creative energy to devote to new methods of operation. Now, most companies start planning for the following year around this time. How many of you are actually in your planning process or have started? Okay. So the rest of you are obviously waited for today. Good idea, because we're hopefully going to give you some insights. We've gathered together this illustrious, experienced, knowledgeable, and dare I say, good-looking panel today, and they didn't know that was coming, to help with some valuable insights on their annual planning processes. Now, we're going to use and talk about EOS, so before I go any further, anybody in this room not know what EOS is? I thought that was going to be the case. Excellent. So we can get on with talking about some of the terms which you'll see some of the panelists using, so the safe to use VTO. Okay. So whether you run EOS or not, and most of you do by the sound of it, this topic will provide, I think, thought-provoking ideas about how to do better planning. Right, so I'm not going to go into what EOS is about. Obviously, we're all knowledgeable about that. So before we get into some specifics about the subject, let's have the panelists introduce themselves and their companies and their roles, just to set the scene so you can see what sort of knowledge and experience we've got sitting at the table here. And it's pretty impressive. So Mary, I'm going to start with you. Core Talent is a recruitment and retention consulting firm designed to help successful growing companies leverage talent as their most important asset. Would you say that accurately describes it? And what else can you add and tell us a little bit more about the background, location of the company?
Yeah, so I'm CEO and founder of Core Talent. We've been around for 10 years. And prior to that, I actually was in global talent management work. So I've always been very passionate about the people. And today, while I do have a recruitment and retention consulting firm, it's really about developing our people, growing leaders who grow other leaders, which is why I own a business. And so it's really fun, and you'll get to hear a little bit more about EOS and how that's helped us at Core Talent.
Thank you. And just a quick follow-up. What's your role at the company?
Yes.
And how many years have you been doing EOS?
Okay. So I've been doing EOS for 7 years, actually. The first 4 was self-implemented. And even though I work with a lot of organizations who are running on EOS, I decided 3 years ago to bring in a professional implementer. And over the last 3 years, we've averaged a 60% growth over the last 3 years. And I truly believe it's because of the process and having that expertise. And I'm the CEO and Chief Culture Officer. That's the fun part of the job.
We've got 2 people with regard to culture here.
Yeah.
So, Shane, I've read that LubeTech has a broad product portfolio, over 7,000 products, I think. Both branded and private label that delivered advanced lubricant solutions to accelerate performance on a global basis. Would you say that accurately describes the business? And tell us a bit more about it in terms of location.
Yeah, that covers it. We have 3 divisions at LubeTech, wholesale distribution across the upper Midwest. We have a vehicle wash division as well in the upper Midwest. And the division that I lead is a custom branded solutions, making OEM branded fluids for the likes of Polaris, Arctic Cat, etc. With manufacturing operations here in Golden Valley and Shreveport, Louisiana.
And just a quick follow-up. You're fairly recent to the EOS as a company.
Yes. So I've been with LubeTech about 4 years. About a year and a half ago, took over leadership of the custom brands division, and we're about 8 months into our EOS journey.
Excellent. Tony, HM Crag, I'm told. Yes, I did want to make sure we were down the line. It's so boring. So we will get to you there, don't worry.
Okay.
I've got some interesting questions for you. I'm told that HM Crag ensures power is still available during a utility outage, which is critical to businesses in the medical, telecom, data and service centre sectors. So given that setup, is that fairly accurate? And can you tell us a bit more, location again, number of employees?
Sure, that's spot on, so thank you. Critical Power Plus is kind of our tagline, so anything that keeps the heat, light, and power on. So if the light, all this rain, the lightning strikes, and the lightning here, if power goes out, it could be our generator or UPS or whatever, and then we sell those products and we also do the service work for that as well. So we are about a 51-year-old company. We're employee owned. This is Doug's company, and we've grown a lot in the last 6 to 10 years, and we attribute a lot of that to EOS. We self-implemented about 6 years ago, which I don't recommend. But it worked for us because my history before that was I actually was a disciple of Mike Payton, who, for those of you that know Traction, so he was our facilitator for 3 years, and it doesn't get any better than that. But so we were blessed to be able to just kind of slowly and surely go along that way. So, but my role as the president and CEO for the last 3 years, and COO before that for 3 years.
Great, thanks, Doug. No follow-ups, you covered them. Thanks. Dave, Core Products believes that therapeutic products should be comfortable to wear, easy to use. You make people's lives more comfortable by designing and manufacturing products that exceed the needs of people suffering from pain and discomfort. Can you add a bit more around that and the location of the company and how it's progressed?
Sure. Core Products, we manufacture the orthopedic soft goods, like you mentioned. We are located in, our headquarters is in Osceola, Wisconsin, but we also have a location in Chautauqua and Toronto. I've been with the company 29 years. We've been using EOS since 2010-ish, I think. We had RFB actually helped implement that. I'd highly recommend that as well.
It's not here, the resultants.
What else?
That's great. Super. Thank you. Thank you very much. That's great. So that's the appetizer. You've got a bit of a feel for the background of the panel. So let's move on to the main course. And I'm going to throw out a question for any of you, and then we'll go to some specifics in a minute. So what are some of the best practices any of you have observed for effective annual planning, with or without using EOS, but preferably using EOS? Anybody want to take that one?
I just would say that for us, it's really good for us to meet outside our facility and to have a professional facilitator come in to challenge us with our thoughts and keep us on track. And also to make sure that you are honest and open during those meetings. And I brought a special button. Peter, can I play this?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have this on our conference room table, and so make sure that if especially salespeople, that you call bullshit on them if they don't. I think RFB gave us this, I'm not sure. But yeah, you press this all the time. So, you got to be open during those meetings. So those are some of our best practices.
She's the entertainer. Nice one. Anybody else want to pick up off here?
I'd actually tag on to something Marnie was talking about that occurred to me when she asked her, and you as well, about have you started your annual planning? And it occurred to me that we kind of do that with Traction all year. So I've been in, I've CFO for 35 years, most of my career, and I remember burning the midnight oil and 7 days a week for 3 months at the end of the year to do a budget. We don't have to do that because we talk about, it's not a surprise. We know what we're going to grow next year for the next 5 years, and we know what that looks like. We know what the next 3 years looks like, what the next 1 year on our BTO. And so when you ask about who started their planning process, I didn't raise my hand because we really haven't, but we'll be done in about 30 days.
Okay, that's a really good point, actually, because and I can remember, like a lot of us in companies doing 3-month business plans and sweating, getting the budgets finished. And you're right, it's very much more important. Any comments on that?
I think the other thing is, we always do an exercise, I know Tony does this too, is what's working and what's not working. And we never let anybody go out of that room until we've addressed every issue that's on the not working list. I think it's really important.
Good, great. Okay, so let's get to some individual questions, if you don't mind, then I'll throw some agenda line out again in a second. So Tony, since implementing EOS 6 years ago, your stock price, you alluded to it earlier, has increased from $55 to $83 a share. So, right? And you've reported decreased waste and inefficiencies and have seen a notable culture shift as the system permeates the organisation. Were any of these listed as annual goals or initiatives within your EOS planning?
I would say it's probably a little bit of to and from the VTO. So a VTO, it sounds like everybody's at least familiar with it, but it's literally a 2-page cool orange and white document, and it's everything you want to know about the company for the next 5 years and what it looks like along the way. So when we self-implemented 6 years ago, we started slowly, just because we were doing it ourselves. Started out with some simple scorecards and did that for a couple of years, and then we started doing the VTO, and it's so in 5 years we know that we're going to be a certain size, we're going to be a certain profitability, and what that looks like along the way. And each of there's different components for facilities, for people, for revenue, for new business units, everything you can think of, and we report on that every quarter, or actually sometimes even more than that. We always refer back to that document. So it's our absolute roadmap. You could even call it our GPS in this day and age. We don't use maps anymore. So as in answer to your question, it absolutely ties back to that. I wouldn't say there's a line item on there that says we're going to cut inefficiencies, but there's 4 things on there that kind of get to that point.
Cool.
And we know what it looks like along the way.
Thanks. And then let's ask the individual question. Everyone wants to dive in. Please just do so. Deb, as we've said, one of your roles is culture champion. So Steve Wilcox called you the culture champion. How did the EOS help core products define and shape its core values? And how does it continue to help everyone in the organisation adhere to the company culture across those 3 facilities that you just told us about?
Sure. So we had our core values written, like probably most of you have, when we started the business. When we joined in with the EOS, it kind of gave us more of a renewed focus, re-energized us around those. And we made very little edits. We did add and have fun because that wasn't part of our core values. The EOS system, the level 10 meetings for us has really helped drive the culture. It helps because we have it going down 3 different levels, so our leadership team level, and then we have our managers group underneath us, and then we actually go down 1 more level to our line supervisors and meeting at level 10s. We're discussing Brock's, we're discussing personal and business bets, employee headlines, all those things to keep us all connected and just keeps everybody together. The other thing we do is the all hands meetings, like a lot of you may do. We do that around our holiday party, so not only do we bring in all hands, but we end up having a little bit of fun as well, so that helps drive our culture all the way down.
Right, thank you. Mary, 2-part question. What percentage of your clients would you say can't be run on EOS?
I actually just looked today, and as of this year, 66%. I was actually surprised. Yeah, I knew it was a lot. I didn't know it was that many. It's everywhere.
So that's my follow-up. That's good because the follow-up's now relevant. Because I was going to scrap it otherwise. So have you seen a difference in hiring success rates amongst those who use EOS and those who don't? And then I'll put another follow-up.
Yeah, absolutely. But I will say there can be a big difference, and I think the companies that truly know what their values look like and they can describe them, and the leadership team can describe them, and they're truly hiring and firing and promoting and developing against those, those core values. That's a game changer when they're going out to look for new talent. And I also think, as a company is growing, every business leader has their idea of what that next hire needs to look like. And I think if those decisions can be discussed at some level as part of the leadership meeting, it's amazing how much more input and information you can get to make the right hire. Because I think as individual leaders, we know what those gaps are in our current department, but we might not always be looking across the organization So I think being able to talk about people, even while sometimes it seems like that should be pushed down to the next department, I think there's always room for having those discussions at the leadership level.
That's great. So I have got another follow-up, which is we use the accountability chart a lot. So do you see companies using that as part of their planning process, just for going through exactly what you described? Is that
Yes and no. I always have a yes and no. So, you know, of course, there's always those boxes identified. And we always say, create a people plan that is directly in alignment with your BTO or your business plan, so that you know what your people plan organization should look like 10, 7, 5, 3, 1 years out. But it's more important to really dig down into what competencies are you looking for? Maybe what stretch skills are you looking for? What's going to help you bring your company to the next level? Do you know the difference between a controller and a CFO? And is it a CFO that you need 5 years out, but maybe not today? And so just being crystal clear about that, and I don't know that that's always done. You just kind of say how many FTEs, and I think that's really important in the planning process, especially if there's talent inside the organization that could potentially be developed into those roles.
That's great. Thank you very much. That does answer the question. Shane, this will be your first year using
Yes. Yeah.
during the annual planning process, which Tony is right, it tends to be ongoing. What are you looking forward to, perhaps, that may have been missing in the process?
Yeah, I would echo what Tony said, that we haven't had our annual planning process yet. We're kicking off our normal corporate process, but it feels like we've already started that process. We've set our 2025 vision, we've got our 3-year plan, we know where we need to be in terms of revenue and profitability, as well as what capabilities, what products, what services we want to sell in the future. So the team has already developed, and it was very easy to go through the planning process in terms of kind of weaving that in. I think the setting the priorities, our team is a highly engaged team. I have a team of 12 that's part of our leadership team. And we're in a shared service environment, so 7 of those are within the business, 5 of those folks are within a shared service function. So it was very difficult to keep everybody kind of moving in the same direction. We now have the ability to get together every week and really discuss and debate the issues that we're having. And that leads right into prioritization of what work it is that we need to get done over the next 3 months or the next year. So really excited about really getting alignment in the organization, and then the team owning the plan that we put together.
Dan, your area of expertise, apart from the culture champion, is in core products, includes operations and IT. How have EOS tools and processes helped your 1-year planning, specifically in these areas, and can you think of any examples you can share?
Yeah, I have a couple examples. I think the EOS tools are great, and they keep them fresh in your mind because you're reviewing them every quarter and then annually as well. One of the examples I have is that on the BTO, like you mentioned, Tony, is that you have the core targets, which is basically when your sales and your net profit and how many employees and your physical space. And one of ours is thoughtful increase of physical plans. And so one of my examples, because that's something we talk about all the time, is we had an opportunity with a customer called My Pillow. Everybody knows who they are. They came to us and they asked us to cut and sew about 25,000 pillow ticks, which is quite a huge number. And we decided that this was a good idea for core products to do. And we're excited about the amount, but that would take a lot of employees and a lot of equipment in order to do that. So because we had a thoughtful increase in physical plan on our core target, we were thinking of other options and kicking things around, and we actually decided to start a home employee program where we could set a home employee up with a sewing machine and they were able to sew that. So because of that tool and because it was in our face all the time, we came up with that. The other one we came up with is in 2015, it was during one of our SWOT analysis, and one of our weaknesses was how we weren't prepared to go to the direct consumer market. We were set up more to sell to distributors. And so because of that, we looked at how we could do that better. We had a lean team set up so that we could see how we could ship 1 to 6 piece orders same day. We had IT involved in how to get those orders down to the floor faster and that sort of thing. But so those all came out of the EOS tools that we're currently using.
Great examples, thanks. So Tony, what are some of the lessons around annual planning you've learned, you think, along the way? Any hard ones that you would repeat?
Yeah, that I can repeat.
Any changes that obviously it was not particularly on the same literal criteria. So,
I was going to say, one of the things we started a year ago that has proven very beneficial is, this may not be EOS peers, so you can't listen. So we started doing BTOs at the business unit level. Our business is critical power, but it's not incredibly complex, but we have literally 5 different business units that go to market differently. We're a distributor, we're a manufacturer's rep, we're service, we're manufacturing. I don't even know what else we are, sometimes consultants. So we found that when we did a BTO at the consolidated level, some of the things could kind of get lost in the weeds a little bit. And what I mean by that is our distribution business is growing 30, 40+%, and that can mask the other divisions. So we literally, last year, a year ago, we did a BTO at the business unit level. So, Dan, the service business unit leader, has a BTO for his division, and we review that just as often as we do consolidated. So by the time we got to the consolidated BTO, it took us about an hour.
So did you roll that up?
We
Rather
do.
than roll it down?
We do, yeah, we roll it up. We started there, and Mary's, I don't know if everybody knows, Mary's on our leadership team, so Mary's been part of this process, but that's what we did, is we usually have our annual meeting, as most people do, in early January, and in the last quarter, we did a BTO at the business unit level, and so we did, I think there's 5 of them. Generators since the 5th one I couldn't think of. And they all do a BTO, and then at our annual planning, we had already reviewed them, and it took us about an hour to do a consolidated BTO, and it was nothing more than saying, what are the 3 top ones from the service? What are the 3 top ones for generator? And so we rolled all of them out, periodically to the whole organization, and so it's worked well for us. I don't think that's really conventional, but it works for us because we're a kind of a multi-tiered business.
Have you just done that the one time? Or have you
We did it a year ago, so we're ready to refresh it, but, this coming January, but we look at it quarterly, update it that way.
So, because I'm just interested in how better it be streamlined than before the first time around.
Yeah, it's no different than the budget the annual planning, coming up with a budget that the board approves. It makes it really easy. I mean, like I say, we're doing this. We do it for the board of directors, and we do it internally for our leadership team. We have 8 people on ours, which you said you have 12, Gene. That's probably bigger than probably what EOS typically would suggest, but we have so many different business units that are completely different. But we report to the board typically every quarter, and we do a red, green, or yellow for every one of those line items that's on our BTO, and it's about 30 line items. And we just say it's on track or it's off track. And now we're to the point where we only report on the red ones. And then we had 2 last week, in fact. So
it just demonstrates that the core processes are good. You can adapt to whatever needs you may have. Just follow the same process. So one of the things that's unique to, I believe, in my background in companies, to the EOS process in terms of the planning is the team health and organisation checkup. I have never had that built into annual planning before. Does anybody want to speak to that, maybe about how that's helped their companies?
Yeah, I mean, we do it at Core Talent every year. And I would say probably 25% of our clients do it. And I think those that do it just have such a better pulse on the people part of the organization. And I think that old saying, hire slow, fire fast, I think that helps when you're going through an objective, documented process. it allows you to make some decisions that you might not make as quickly as you probably should, so.
We do ours about every other year, the full organizational checkup, but Mary's actually been a big proponent of this for us. We do the right people, right seats every year.
So she should be.
I'm sorry?
So she should be.
Yeah, really. So, but we update it, we actually put all 8 answers on a, kind of like a matrix, and it's red, green, or yellow. And the yellows and the reds we need to work on. And what we found is that we do a really good job of setting the vision, but we don't tell people enough. And that's the key thing, you know, we get together, you know, we're spread all over the country, and so we get together formally, everybody, all hands on deck, once a year, and that's not enough. So we need to do better at.
So what are you going to do about it?
Well, you know, we have monthly financial, it's kind of financial calls, but it's also key wins, welcome, you know, things going on, and I think we just need to incorporate more into that. You know, maybe pick a section out of it, you know, every month. That's probably what we'll do, but we need to be more purposeful about that.
Good. That's great feedback.
Peter, I was just going to add that we've integrated the people analyzer with the GWC and then plugged it into, we used the 9-box process to identify high potentials. So we go through that process first, and then that helps us put a placement on those high potentials or where they go in the 9-box. And that's worked really well for us this first year using that as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. I know HO Craig does that as well, and I think, you know, it allows you to focus your time and energy on your high potentials and not the problem people, whereas we typically tend to spend our time.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, we don't coach the ones that can take us to that level. We coach the problem areas. So at this point, I'd like to throw it out for any questions from the floor, if you have any. I've got some more, but Marty suggested that we gave everybody the opportunity to ask the panel some questions. So anybody would like to ask any questions? Don't all put your hands up at once. All right, we'll keep going. So I've got a couple more before we run out of time. Oh, sorry. Go. Sorry.
I have a question on HR. I work in HR, and I'm wondering, what are HR's numbers, right? What numbers do HR, does HR own? We always are talking about metrics and how we measure, but what are some leading metrics that HR uses that are effective?
Yeah. Well, for sure, retention, you know, numbers, turnover numbers. I think average time to fill, you know, I think the percentage of people who are being developed into other roles. I think whether or not there's a succession plan, because every company should have one, no matter how small. I think of some other ones, you know, I think there's engagement, and that's a tough one, because engagement for every organization is different. But if you can figure out what's critical, and then measure that through employee opinion surveys. Objective data, you know, I also think looking at performance review information at least annually. I mean, HR doesn't necessarily own that. Leadership owns that. HR facilitates and provides the data, but the leaders are the ones that really own it.
Are you talking about a scorecard?
Yeah, I talked about scorecard, a leading metric, something that you can report on every week. I mean, because turnover is pretty lagging weekly.
Yeah.
What do you report on every week?
Well, I think it depends too on what your goals are. So if you're in high growth mode and you are hiring, it's not just what positions you're filling, it's what does your pipeline look like, right? Because you need pipeline to support that future growth. What does your succession plan look like? Do you have people in key roles that are ready to move up? So it's some of that type of data.
Okay, so that's reported on every week by HR?
It depends. I would say we do that mostly on a quarterly basis, for sure. You know, then we look at it on an annual basis as well.
Sorry.
I was going to say, you could have metrics that ties back to people that are, I know our administrative group, they work with customer service and shipping and receiving, and you could have things like, missed shipments, mislabeled, different things, kind of the right people, right seats, because then what happens is you determine that you don't have the right people in the right seats. So there's either training that needs to happen, or move people to a different role, or move them out, or whatever. So we track things like, I'm just trying to think, like if something gets shipped to the wrong location or it's late, that's kind of manufacturing, but at the end of the day, the processes should work, and so it might come down to an HR people role. So that's a little bit lagging, but it helps you work on the people issue.
A couple of the things we track in HR are obviously turnover, but we do on-time anniversaries and reviews. So that's something we track, and then also if we're signing people up with benefits on time. So just something simpler that they report on.
And there are some clients that use quarterly scorecards just for certain things that make sense to be quarterly tracked rather than weekly. It's a good question. Thanks. Anybody else? Yeah, please.
I've heard several people discuss self-implementing first, and I've got clients that try that kind of stuff too, but what was the biggest benefit of using a professional?
I'll say it because I thought I knew a lot about EOS. Because, we've been using it since, 3 years after I started the business. And 66% of my clients are using it. And I thought, okay, I got this. And it wasn't until I brought in an implementer that I realized what I didn't know. I didn't know what I didn't know. And I also didn't realize how many tools are available that support the EOS process, that are introduced at every stage, that builds on what you already know. So you just get better and better and better.
I couldn't agree more, and I would also say that self-implementing, one of the reasons why it's been pretty successful for us is, we're also part of different groups. Like I'm part of an EOS roundtable that we get together every 60 days and we have an L10 meeting about L10s, just how to get better. But I would also say that you probably have a 0% chance of success if you don't have every person on your leadership team, including the CEO of the company, that's on board 100%. Otherwise, it won't work. And that's why it worked for our company, because our chairman of the board, my predecessor, was all in, and they kind of already started to dabble in it. But unless your whole team is on board, chances aren't good. And the facilitators that's what they do for a living. They're very good at it. And we also took our time. It took us 6 years to get here, which is...
From my perspective, I had contemplated doing self-implementation just to save the cost, but ended up going with resultants with Chad Alderman. And I'd say there's really 3 benefits. Loop Tech is a fast-paced organization and tend to get to the shiny object that distracts you. So they keep you on track, disciplined. We tend to go down some rabbit holes during our meetings, and you start to, in the IDS process, really discuss for 15 minutes, going down all these rabbit holes, and it'll pull you back from that and keep the team focused. And then lastly, I would say, I agree with what Mary said about the tools. There's many times that Chad has brought up during our meetings. There's a tool for that. I'll send that out to you. It reminds us that there's tools out there to be used, which I don't know that would have not used if he wasn't reminding us that those were out there. So for us, it's been valuable.
Thanks for the question, Clint. I'll let you drink in the bar, and Mary, you too. Thank you. Any more questions before we start to wrap? Yes,
I
please.
was curious about how you've watched this process empower the other people on the team who maybe have embraced more of the leadership within themselves because of their participation in the L10s.
That's a good question. I'll jump on that one because that's one of the outcomes that I wanted for implementing this process. When Chad and I met the first time, it was one of the first things I said to him was we want to create a collaborative, empowered team. I've been in the role for about 1.5 years. Prior, it was a little bit of a command and control structure, and I really wanted to energize the team and get the kind of the mind space that they were working in and get the energy and passion from the team. And this process really facilitates that. Everybody's engaged, they're being part of the solution, they're developing the solution, they're pushing back, they're challenging each other. They all feel like they have part of the plan. and ownership to that plan. So it's really been exactly what I was looking for in terms of that.
One of the things I think the book kind of jokes about is it becomes a vocabulary. You know, it's not unusual to walk down the hall at companies that use it like this and say, Mary, we need to IDS this. You know, you're not using traction, that doesn't mean anything. So it becomes part of your, you know, vernacular. It works well.
Yeah, let's put that on an accountability chart.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I have to say one little thing. I was hoping to be able to share this, but Cortan is a smaller company, but our leadership team, is grounded in our VTO. And it's to the point that I used to be the one person, staying up at night, worrying about everything. And now my leadership team, honestly, sometimes I have to talk them off the ledge. I'm like, it's going to be okay. Look at the big picture. We're going to get there, but they're just so zero laser focus on our goals, which is pretty cool.
Great, thank you. Any more questions? Yes, at the back again.
I'm just curious, the size of organizations, you mentioned smaller, Mary, but how big are
Yeah,
companies?
we primarily work with 10 to 50 million, I would say.
Okay, how much employee size?
No, you're talking about you.
Oh, me? I have 12. HOK. I would say, 10 people to probably 250, right? Yeah.
We're 75 spread across the country.
We have about 140.
We're closing in on 200 employees.
So quite a spread. Right.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons we selected the panel, because it gave us a good feeling across a wide range. Thanks.
I have another question, sorry. Are any of you using quarterly conversations in a formal way in document?
Quarterly conversations. Yes. I am. I'm using the tools that are available through EOS and through Resultants, and so they work great. You're going through your goals and your objectives, what's working well, what's not working well, culture, values, check-in, that type of thing. So we get to the year end, it's a lot easier.
I just thought of something, back to your question about somebody's self-implementing question. One of the biggest challenges is when you have a facilitator, like Peter, they can facilitate those quarterly meetings, whereas I'm doing it now, and sometimes it's hard to participate. And so sometimes you're scribing, or you're trying to write things down, or take notes, or whatever. So there's a lot of value right there. But we've just chosen to, we're pretty collaborative, so it works okay for us. But if you're facilitating, that first of all, it takes a lot of energy, and it's hard to do, and to be able to participate. Yeah, as you know, but it's hard because you're supposed to be coming up with ideas as well.
Okay. I'd like to thank the panel, actually. So can you give the panel a round of applause? Hand over to you to close out.
So at this point, I would like to bring up a couple more of our valued sponsors. It's our sponsor team that really makes this possible. So Andrew Kuderer, product manager from Core Talent, could you come on up first and share a little bit of information about how Core Talent works with manufacturing companies?
I'm Andrew Kuderer from Core Talent. 46% of manufacturing business owners and executives are worried about finding qualified workers. And 37% are worried about retaining those qualified workers. Put together, this is the largest single worry for manufacturing business owners and executives in the state of Minnesota and across the Midwest. Finding and retaining qualified workers is viewed as by many as also the biggest challenge for growth, future growth in the manufacturing industry. This challenge becomes even greater when the company grows to over $5 million and over 50 employees. At Core Talent, our purpose is to accelerate business growth through great people. We do this by working with the manufacturing industry, with entrepreneurial organizations that are growing quickly, and companies that work on EOS. We recruit in sales, we recruit in human resources, operations, and in marketing. So one story that sticks out as Core Talent partners with manufacturing companies is we work with a company that's 110 people, and they had 6 open production benches each day. We help them turn that 6-person deficit into a +5 candidate pipeline of people waiting for an open production bench. So thank you all for coming tonight. The panel was great. Thank you for having us, Marty, and look forward to talking to everybody later.
Lastly, Chad Halderman from Resultants for Business, Business Advisor. And the Resultants have been a sponsor for, I think, about 6 years. So thank you for your loyalty. Come on up.
Thank you, panel. Staffing, people, number one, universal problem to everybody that we work with. So we talk to a lot of business owners and leaders, and businesses get stuck because they're maxed out. Pretty universal problem. We understand that because we've gotten stuck. We've maxed out. We've failed, we've learned, and we've grown. We act as the advocate for the company, the advocate for the business. We look to help owners and their leadership teams scale and grow further faster. So that's what we do as an organization. We do that using 2 primary tools, EOS being the core of what we do with organizations. And the other tool we use is the Value Builder System. If you haven't read any of John Warlow's work, I would encourage you to do so. Very anecdotal, he's a great storyteller. EOS addresses operational efficiency and profit. Value Builder is about growing the transferable economic value of the company. So we do this, creating the journey with an organization so leadership and the whole team can get aligned around the mission, vision, and values of the organization. Help build out key tools to create operational efficiencies and empower the leadership team and people so they can then move further and faster using a repeatable, scalable process forward. So, end result, what's the desired end to this journey? Tale of 2 companies. So company number 1, this owner, he or she, everything runs through them. They have their hands on all the controls of the organization. They maybe have hired people along the way because it was convenient, or they were an inexpensive find, or they've got their hands and control around the business. They haven't taken a vacation in 6 months. They're locked into they're both in and on the business, and they have a somewhat clouded vision of the future because they're in the business much more than in the business. Company number 2, this owner, he or she, has really been intentional about hiring a quality leadership team. They've hired people who align with their core values, who can challenge them and challenge what got them there, building the plan to get them to that next level. They have invested in processes, they have invested in culture. They can take vacations because they feel confident that the company can operate without them. Maybe they're a little bit of a control freak, I raise my hand, and there's some nervousness in taking vacation, but they do it knowing that things are going to be okay. Which company has greater value in the future? Which company can create ultimately owner freedom for that owner so that he or she, regardless of where they want to go with the organization, has more options, has a more valuable company and more options. So we help owners who would choose company number 2, choosing a more valuable company and creating owner freedom and having options. We're going to be around this evening. Thank you so much, Martin, for allowing us to be part of this program. Thanks, panelists, for sharing the storytelling. I mean, that's how we learn. So your stories and your success, very helpful. My colleagues and I will be around this evening and look forward to having conversations with any of you, share stories, answer questions.
Thank you.
Good way.
Thank you very much. Great. This has been such a great program. You guys mark your calendar for next year, February 11. We're having our 2020 kickoff Gears and Gadgets, and backed by popular demand, Professor King Banyan, who is a professor of economics at St. Cloud University. How many of you have seen him and been to our program? Isn't he great? He'll provide you with an economic forecast for the manufacturing industry, but he's actually very entertaining. So this is a program you definitely don't want to miss. So thank you all so much for coming today. We've got a happy hour here. We have some hot appetizers. I've been cooking all day, so please eat up and have a cocktail. Thanks so much.
Nice, Deb.
You got it.